Hey, Buckskin Bill here to talk to you today about turning a piece of rawhide deer hide into leather. I know we've talked in the past about turning rawhide deer hide into buckskin, but buckskin and leather are two very different things. Although some of the process is similar, they're different. Let's get started.
The term tanning comes from the use of tannin. Oak bark is a great source of tannin, so I'm chopping chunks of oak bark and will boil it to extract the tannin. This bark was harvested from an oak tree when it had come down just a few years ago. If a dead tree sits in the woods for years, the rain and weather will leach the tannin out of the bark. This bark's been stored in my shed for about 2 years. Normally I would do 3 boils, each for several hours to extract the tannin. The first boil will have the highest concentration, with each additional boil being progressively weaker. After 2 boils, my wife wanted me out of the kitchen. You can see the deep, rich red color coming from the tannin from the oak bark. This is actually a pour from the first boil. When tanning a hide, you need to start with the weakest solution. The tannin causes the membranes of the hide to pucker. If the original solution is too strong, the outside membrane will pucker so tight that the tannin can't get into the inner part of the hide. The tanning process will fail and your hide will be ruined. Here you can see the density of the tannins in the solution. By tomorrow, with the hide in there, it will have soaked up most of the tannin and the liquid will be very clear. On day 2, we'll add additional tannin solution from our second boil, which will be much stronger. On day 1, you should stir the hide every 15 minutes for the first hour. After an hour, you should stir it every hour or so. This prevents spotting, where the folded hide may be touching and not getting as much tannin as the rest of the hide. For the first few days, you want to stir it multiple times a day. As you begin to add stronger and stronger solutions, I recommend that you use a paint stick or rubber gloves when you're stirring the hide to protect your skin.
So we're reaching the end of the video here, even though we're only in day 2 of the process. The process is going to continue on. Each day you want to check the solution and see how much tannin is still in the solution, and keep strengthening the solution. I would say for the first 2 weeks at least, you only want to go at max with the second boil. After 3 weeks, then I would go full strength and let it ride out for 5 to 6 weeks, depending on how thick the hide is. At the end of the time, you can cut a little corner off the side of the hide. I would go to the thickest part where the neck is and cut just a little slice off, and look at the slice itself and see if there's any white in the middle of the slice. If there's still white in the middle of the slice, the process hasn't gone all the way through, and you need to continue with the tanning process until it's all the way through the hide and you don't see any white in the middle of the hide. Once the hide is finished processing, you can take it out and dry the hide and stretch it. Some people put it on a frame and stretch it with a very blunt instrument. Stretching the hide, you can stretch it by hand. I'll also show you a technique here that I use for stretching the hides. Once the hide is dry, you need to add some kind of conditioner to the oil, like a neat's foot oil or a very lightweight oil, or some people will use tallow, depending on how thick you want the leather. The more you work the leather at the end, the more pliable it becomes. So if you want a stiffer leather, you want to work the leather less. If you want something more pliable, then you're going to work the leather a lot longer. Here's how I work the hide. So I will take the hide and I'll begin rolling at a section of the hide and start to roll the hide up and make a roll. And then you can start working the hide, stretching the hide by rolling it and putting pressure on it. As you're doing this, you're loosening the fibers of the hide. And after you've worked it this way for a while, then you switch, roll it from a different angle, and repeat the process. And just keep working the hide that way to stretch it. Well, this concludes our segment on making leather. I hope it helps you. If you like the video, please hit the like button and subscribe. It'll help me make future videos. And thanks for watching.